Top 5 killer psychological buying triggers. So the goal of this workshop is to learn the secret 5 killer psychological buying triggers to get customers to purchase. And here's what we'll cover: what the 5 most important psychological buying triggers are, how you can incorporate these into your marketing and sales strategy. If you want to get people saying yes to what you're selling, you need to be aware of the triggers that persuade people to make a purchase. Killer trigger 1, reciprocity. Human beings are inherently social creatures. We've evolved a lot of habits and traits over time to support this social existence, and one of those is the principle of reciprocity. Put simply, this means that if somebody does something for us, we feel compelled to do something for them in return. You can make use of this in your own marketing with a few different techniques. Number 1, offer something for free. You can offer a free gift up front, such as a free sample or a downloadable guide. This can feel like a bad idea. You might worry that you risk lowering the perceived value of your brand or products, but it can be a really valuable tool. So if you give something away for free, people will feel inclined to give you something in return. In an ideal world, that would convert directly to a sale. But even if somebody who gets a gift doesn't go straight to the checkout with something more expensive, they're more likely to read your emails or come back to you if they're looking to make a purchase later. Personalization. So making your customers feel like you care about them as individuals rather than purely as a potential income stream can go a long way to building a sense of reciprocity. You can do this with something as simple as a personalized email or letting them choose from several options of a free reward. So acknowledging that different customers have different needs doesn't have to be complicated, but it can produce great results. Relationship maintenance. So when a customer buys something from you, don't let that be the end of the relationships. A thank you email or an offer of another reward following a purchase can keep the cycle of reciprocity going and create a returning customer who will bring more regular income for your business. Referral codes are another great way to leverage reciprocity, offering money off or a small gift if a customer recommends your business to a friend. Sending a thank you note to a customer makes them feel appreciated. It's a small gesture, but it can do a lot to building feelings of reciprocity. Killer trigger 2, consistency. Consistency is pretty widely viewed as a positive trait. So once somebody has made a decision, they're likely to want to stick with that because people like to be consistent. This is another aspect of human nature that you can use to get better results in your marketing. So here are a few ways you can get your customers' desire to be consistent with your brand. So start with something small. So you can get a potential customer to make a small gesture or commitment. Larger ones will feel easier. Actions like signing up to an email list, following your brand on social media, or sharing a specific post aren't difficult to do and don't cost anything. So for most people, it won't take an enormous amount of persuasion to encourage a gesture like that. And once they've taken a small step towards supporting your business, it's easier to ask them to move for more further down the line. Try before you buy. So there's a reason money back guarantees are so widely used. If you offer somebody use of a product or service for a period of time with the option to return it for their money back after a set period of time, there's a good chance they won't take you up on that. Of course, there will always be some people who set out to make most of the freebie, but most people who use something for a period of time, and that's 30 days, 100 days, or a year, will get used to having it and won't return it at the end of the trial period. Reward investment in your brand. So asking people to spend a lot of time or effort supporting you might feel like a shortcut to losing them completely, but the opposite might actually be true. So people value things that they've put effort into. And if you can encourage them to invest some energy into your business, they're more likely to keep coming back. So this is where like Facebook groups and things are are really, really amazing tools because you're getting people invested into you and putting their time and energy into you. So whether that be commenting on your posts, getting them to engage in what you're saying, watch your videos and things like that, it can be a really great tool and a way to get them invested. Killer trigger 3, authority. So if you can convince people you know what you're talking about, they're more likely to listen to you. That probably sounds obvious, but the difficult part is figuring out how to convey the necessary authority. So here are 3 concrete methods you can use to convey authority in marketing so people will be more likely to buy what you're selling literally as well as figuratively. And this is something that we have covered earlier on, but I'm just going to go in a little bit more detail because it's so important. So titles and experience. So this can be pretty literal, such as if you're working in a field where academic knowledge is of direct benefit and you have a relevant academic title, obviously put it out there. Health and wellness advice is always going to be more credible coming from a doctor, for example. But a PhD isn't the only way to communicate expertise. If you have a history of success in your field, then referencing this can reassure your customers that you know what you're talking about. Appearance. So this might be your appearance, or it might be the appearance of your site, for example, or your social media page. So in either case, you want your appearance to be professional and keeping in with your industry. Look to other successful people and websites in your field and see what they have in common. So you might want to have a unique brand identity, but it's also important to look reliable. And that means not straying too far beyond industry norms. So not every industry requires the same appearance. A business formal wear might convey authority in a field like finance, but look out of place if you're focusing on something like digital art or you're more in the creative field. Indirect cues. So this is the little elements of your site or personal following that lend you an air of credibility. So things like having a large social media following, positive reviews, or a lot of testimonials on your site. So some of these are more effective if built up over a long time. So it's good to be able to work on the other 2 elements of authority first. But as you and your business start to gain a reputation, you'll find these indirect cues are great for encouraging customers to invest their trust and money in your products. Killer trigger 4, endorsement. So people are highly influenced by the opinion of others. It goes back to our social natures. So there's some overlap between this buying trigger and authority, since both come down to customers being more likely to buy from a trusted source. The difference is that with authority, you're encouraging them to trust you, and with endorsement, you're getting somebody else to encourage them to trust you. We all know what it's like if our friends tell us or a family member tells us that something is good, we're more likely to trust what they say than if we read, say, a review online by somebody that we didn't know. So experts, being able to point to an expert opinion can be enormously useful for promoting sales. So this obviously applies more in some areas than others. People are going to be more interested in an expert opinion if you're selling dietary supplements than if you're selling artwork. So consider the niche you're working in and whether it makes sense to reach out to experts in your network to ask for their endorsement. Influence. So getting an influencer endorsement is a great way to bring attention to your product. Influencer opinions aren't always trusted to the same extent as experts, although in many cases they are given a similar weight, but people are interested in them and in many cases want to be like them. So a recommendation from an influencer can directly give your sales a boost. So tip, you can offer an incentive for an influencer to give your product a shout out, for example, for a percentage of commission from sales. So when we think about Instagram, there are tons of influencers on Instagram. And there are quite a lot of influencers on Facebook as well. Now, what you need to do to find an influencer, when you think about an influencer, think about who is their audience, and is their audience who you are targeting as well. So you don't just want to pick any random influencer. You'd want to pick somebody who's got the same sort of audience as you, so that you know when they start to promote your product that their audience are going to be interested. So for example, if you have an e-commerce business, whether it be selling furniture or clothing, we'll take the clothing as an example, and you pick an influencer, you send them some garments and they try on and they take some pictures, and you give them a promo code that they can put in their description. So then what you can do is, in your website, if you've got a Shopify website or WooCommerce site, if you're selling on like WordPress, what you can then do is you can give a promo code out to all the customers who want to buy via the influencer, and you could say to the influencer, I'm going to give you 30 or 40% of my commission, and you'll know exactly where those sales have come from because they've used a promo code. And that's just one example of many, many, many ways that you can use influencers as a way to generate more sales. And then you've got your peers. So sometimes the person a customer will trust the most is somebody just like them. So you can make use of user review sections on your site and a rating system to allow customers to look at what products other people found useful. So this also goes for, say, on your Facebook page, getting people to add tons of reviews on there as soon as they've used your product. LinkedIn, so all my reviews, I get all my clients to leave me a LinkedIn testimonial because it's building up that social credibility. So a bestseller section works in the same way, so allowing people to rely on the opinions and judgments of customers who have come before them. Killer trigger 5, scarcity. So we are inherently drawn to things that are in demand. So especially when those things are difficult to get hold of. So there's an inbuilt assumption that anything that's popular must be good. And the sense of urgency created around something that might be about to run out can encourage customers to make a purchase when they might otherwise have waited. So let's think about the pandemic 2020, when all toilet roll was literally in high demand. Pasta, rice, your everyday essential items were being taken. And what that did to us, even though a lot of us couldn't understand the logic of it, there was a lot of fear going around. So you were also part of that because you worried that you weren't actually going to be able to get hold of any. And when that is the case, especially for essential items, the demand then increases and you want to buy that item. So here's some of the ways that you can create a sense of scarcity around your product. So limited number remaining. So display a limited number. So like, for example, only 10 remaining can encourage people to view your product as scarce and by extension, desirable. It can also prompt a purchase. So if a customer is worried that the product they're interested in won't be available if they come back later. So you do need to be careful with this one, as it's become such a popular technique that a lot of consumers have learned to view it with suspicion. And make sure you don't overuse it or people assume that it's meaningless. And one thing I would say about this as well is that use it authentically. So if you have got 100 remaining, you might not need to put it on because it's 100, but use it for when you've got 10 or more less of, 10 or more courses left, 10 or more physical products left. You can use scarcity in many different ways. Limited time only. So having a deal that's available for a certain period of time can have a similar effect to the limited number remaining strategy, encouraging customers to buy now or risk losing out. So a clearance sale on items from a previous line is a good example of this, or a daily special. You can also have holiday specials which play on consumers' enthusiasm for the time of year, as well as being inherently limited. And then we've got one-off specials. So tying both of the previous methods together, a one-off special can be limited in both time and quantity, really highlighting the exclusivity of the opportunity. So these work well as celebrations of milestones such as your brand or business's anniversary. Another good opportunity for a one-off special would be a collaboration, which can also tie in the benefit of endorsement. So your homework. So for each of these 5 triggers, what I want you to do is identify and write down a way you could apply it to your own business. So this is going to take a little bit of thought, but just like all the other workshops that we've done, it's really good to see now we understand what we need to do. How can we apply this to our own individual business?